talking with Ross Myhill from Helen Springs Station. How you going, Ross?
Yeah, good, Lukey.
And what do you do here, Ross?
Head Stockman here. Been here since '07 now. Between here and the outstation, Barkly, you down there, and then back up to Helen Springs here.
Yep. And the rest of the people in Australia and around the world, whereabouts is Helen Springs?
150 k's north of Tennant Creek in the Northern Territory. Pretty much in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of the Northern Territory, and he's fair dinkum outback country here, eh?
Yeah, that's it.
And what size are the properties that you're working on here?
Helen Springs is about 5,500 square k's, and Barkly's 6,000 square k's. We utilise most of that country for grazing cattle.
And what sort of numbers do you run?
Normally run about 60,000, but we're down on numbers a bit, a few dry seasons in the last few years, so we're down to about 40 at the moment, 40,000 head.
So you've got a lot of good downs country, so tell us a bit more about the downs country,
Yeah, so 70% of the place I suppose would be Mitchel Grass Downs, so yeah, you've got good cattle feed all year round. Red country that makes up the other 30%, not as good for grazing cattle, but it's good for the drought and stuff. Keep it sort of there as a fodder reserve. We have a dry season.
So it's part of the big Barkly Tableland, isn't it?
Yeah, we're sort of right on the edge of the Barkly Tablelands where the Downs country finishes, meets the Tanami Desert type country.
It runs back to the east, 500 kilometres all the way to Camel Wheel.
Yeah, yep.
Pretty big stretch of good cattle country up here, eh?
Yep.
And what does your job entail as head stockman?
Oh, just my main sort of explanation of my job's the welfare of the cattle, and then I've got to organise the workers around doing the best job by the cattle to keep them fat, in conjunction in the consultation with the manager.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the animal welfare side of things, my job, and then horses we use sort of as sort of the main focus of keeping them in that good frame of mind and
keeping the cattle in good frame of mind, yeah.
And weight gains.
So what do you start with? You use choppers or plane here? What do you use for your...
Mainly use the fixment plane, just the open downs country, just a little bit cheaper to run a plane than it is a chopper. We use choppers in some of the red country every once in a while, every 2 or 3 years, just to make sure we've cleaned it out. Yeah, the plane and the motorcycle start the cattle in onto water, and then normally just have horses walk them once we get them together in a mob.
And what sort of distance might you walk your cattle in a day's muster?
The average distance range from sort of 20 k's up to 35 is about as far as we walk now in a day. So it came down a bit in the last few years. We used to walk a bit further, but just sort of brought it down, make it a bit easier for the cattle, use holding paddocks and things.
And what are your biggest numbers that you'd muster in one muster?
One big paddock there with a big blue bush swamp through it that we normally sort of have about 10,000 head in each year. Normally take it in cuts of sort of 2,000 or 3,000 head, but the average numbers of breeders would be about 1,000 cows, calves and bulls.
Yeah. And your place is pretty well fenced up these days?
Yeah, got a fair bit of fencing and infrastructure to different waters and different yards to try and save them walking cattle too far to lose weight.
And what about your stock camp? How many men and women do you have in your camp?
7 plus myself in the stock camp here, and the same at Barkly. Normally try and run so we can split up through the year and make a sort of third camp if we need it. Try and get a little bit more work done.
Yep. And when's your season run, Ross?
Normally start most years from April through to mid-December, but this year's sort of been fairly wet, so it'll probably be late May before we get a start this year. So we'll be very busy after that.
Yeah, you'll be flat out, eh?
Yeah.
And from the fly around we did yesterday, there's just water all over your downs country, hey?
A lot of water laying, and then the creek's still running, still filling, so yeah, it's been a late start to the year.
And what do you do when you have a bit of fun around here, Ross? You get an odd day off. What do you do then?
We got a few bucking bulls and things. We all run in and go to town. A lot of rodeos and things through the year. We try and work our work program around the rodeos and camp drafts. We can get the fellas away for a week at a time to go and have some fun, meet other people.
So you spend all day, every day working with horses and cattle, and then you have some days off and you go and do more with horses and cattle.
Yep, that's it.
That's the way it works in the bush, eh?
Yeah.
Thanks for talking to us, Ross. Thanks for
No worries.
He's
Thanks
part of myaustralianoutback.com.
Thanks for coming and giving us all the education over the last week. Much appreciated.
No worries at all.